to Insider Threat, y'all. I'm Graveyyy, the host and the creator of this podcast. Today's episode is titled Meet the Insider. And you guessed it. Did you guess it? The insider is me. It's our kickoff episode, y'all. I'm so excited. Oh, it's our kickoff episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Before we get started, this long journey that this season has been, before we get started diving into the patterns, the programming, the internal conflicts that kind of shape how we show up in the world today, I want to go back to the beginning of where it started, and that's with me. You know what I mean? I can't ask you guys to dig a little bit deeper if I'm not willing to go a little deep dive too. So, getting started. Well, before we get started, I want to kind of tell you what we're going to be going over in this episode today, right? We're going to be going over a little bit of my backstory, how the podcast came about, like the idea, and, where we want to take the podcast, what we see the podcast doing in the future. Because we're dreamers over here. If you didn't know, now you know. If you don't know, now you know. Okay, I break out in song sometime, y'all, and I speak in song lyrics sometimes. Don't be alarmed. Don't be alarmed. So, but yeah, we want to give a little bit of backstory of, like I said, myself, the podcast, and what we want the podcast to do for you guys, what we hope it'll do for you guys. And finally, we'll go into how each episode will be segmented out, and we'll explain a little bit of how the segments came about and how they apply to the podcast. So, without further ado, let's get this thing crack-a-lacking. I'm going to call y'all insiders. So, that's what I'm going to refer to y'all from here on out. You know what I mean? Okay, insiders, my friend. Okay. Whatever. A little bit about me, right? So I'm Colby. Like I said, y'all could call me Graveyyy. That's my, nickname. So if you're an insider and I'm an insider, then I guess you could be let in on a little nickname or two. That's an inside name. You get what I'm saying? You in there. But I am 29 years old. I have been working in the tech industry for 11-ish years. And I say that cautiously and sparingly, right? Because I'm not saying that makes me any type of expert in the tech field, because there's literal geniuses out here, right? Geniuses. And I probably can't do what they do. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I probably wouldn't try. But the good news about it, you ain't got to know everything. You just got to know where to go to find it. And that's how I live my life, right? Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's out there. Success leave a blueprint, guys. But like I said, I'm 29 years old. I've been in the tech industry for about 11-ish years. So before I can kind of take you to even how I got started in the tech industry, I'm going to take y'all way back when I was 5 years old. Yeah, if you know the song, ain't that like the remake, the TLC? I'm gonna take y'all way back when I was 5 years old. I might be messing up the age, but whatever. So let's go way back when I was in elementary school. I've always been kind of like a social butterfly. I ain't gonna lie, like as an adult, it probably like calmed down a little bit. But when I was younger, I didn't care. Hey, y'all. Didn't know a stranger, for real. Didn't know a stranger. But I don't even know how it came about. I think maybe I was walking around the school with maybe my older siblings or something like that. I don't know. But anyways, I was in 5th grade. I guess knowing everybody in elementary school wasn't enough, because then I somehow ended up on the high school step team. So not only does the elementary school know who I am, all up through middle school, high school, I'm still in 5th grade, mind you. So I'm a youngin'. Everybody knew me. And to let y'all in, I was an obedient kid. I was just kind of, I was an obedient kid because now that I think about it, I used to leave school to go to the high school, which was down the street. So I would walk. 5th grade. Keep in mind, I'd walk from the elementary school, which is down the street. It's probably like a 20-25 minute walk. I'd walk from the elementary school, which was down the street, to the high school every day after school for step team practice, right? Mind you, I had no note. I think my mom used to come pick me up, so she knew. I just didn't have a note, so the school didn't know, right? And so it's a little bit off topic, but yeah, I was still obedient. But yeah, that's how I got started in just kind of expanding my social life, shall I say. And I got caught, mind you. I did get caught. But anyways, so a lot of people knew of me because of that. I was in 5th grade on high school step team. So all throughout school, I was always, communicating with any and everybody, not afraid to kind of go around different age groups and learn what they had to offer. I was always interested in learning more and more and more. So if and when throughout the podcast season, volume 1, if and when I geek out a little bit, don't mind me. And y'all gonna, by the end of this, y'all gonna learn to embrace the nerds. Stop playing. Stop playing. Y'all gonna learn to embrace the nerds by the end of this. But so where was I? Yeah, all throughout school, everybody always knew of me and I was always social. So getting into high school and everything like that, it wasn't really bad, but the transition was very smooth. So I think the first major trauma that I actually addressed head on, like had to accept blatantly, was when I was in like maybe 8th grade. That was when I went through my first house fire. Lost everything, like por todo. Yeah, I was bilingual, a little bit. But that's when I lost everything. And I remember I was in school and they called me up to the front office and they were just like, Kobe, somebody's coming to pick you up. Something's going on with your home. I'm just like, okay. Still in high spirits and everything like that. Got home, the whole house literally gone. It's burned down to the studs. My mama and everything was all right. So I was fine. So I took a little break. And I'll tell you later in the episode, later in this episode, about like how each episode is segmented out. I'll tell you what point I was in when I first seen the devastation that everything was gone. I didn't really know how to understand it. I was young, 8th grade, but I seen it and I was just like, I don't think I knew what I was supposed to do or how I was supposed to feel. So I was just like, okay. I don't know. But that was the first tragedy that I ever really kind of accepted at face value because it was literally no other way for me to accept it. You get what I'm saying? So I don't think it caused me to have a different perspective on life. I think I've always been connected to the idea that it has to get better. And I went to church as a kid, but it wasn't like super, let's learn this. I'm gonna help cultivate this in you or help guide you here, or let's do Bible study at home, learn a little bit more, get a little closer to Jesus, build our relationship outside of the church, right? Outside of the building. So that didn't come till later in my life as an adult. But looking back, I always can say that God was right there. Looking back with the knowledge that I have today, I can always say that God literally, his word never failed. He was always there and always had his hand on me and guided me, because after that house fire, being from a small town, you would think the most, right? But for the most part, being from a small town, what people can say is that everybody knows everybody. So when I tell you went after I went through that fire, maybe it was like a day or two after I actually went back to school, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been a week, max a week, but I think it was like a day or two after. I got back to school, and one of my good friends, and it's crazy, I have to tell that story later, but one of my good friends she was actually my 7th grade teacher. But I think she led the charge or something like that. When I got back, they had the most clothes, shoes, like they rallied together and was not playing, had everything at the front office. I walked through the school doors and I was sitting in my class, I think, and they called me to the front office. I'm just like, what did I do? Just got back. So got to the front office, seen everything, and was just like, okay, thank y'all. Like, I appreciate it. So I had to call my mom and get everything, but the amount of support that community had when it came to me going through that situation, I cannot thank or stress this enough. I thank you guys, and you know who you are. Bryan County, middle and high school right now, I think that's what it is, but I think they combined it. But I appreciate y'all. I appreciate everything y'all do, and I gave back a little bit. I worked for them in my high school year, but I gave back a little bit. So essentially, I'm student and faculty. Nah, hands up, don't hate. So essentially, I'm student and faculty, but like I said, the amount of support that these individuals who didn't have to do it, the amount of support and their willingness to help, I appreciate everything that you guys did and that you still do for the future. You guys are amazing teachers, and we need more people like y'all in this world. I love y'all. But like I said, I've always had that connection or idea. Trouble don't last always. But like I said, looking back with the knowledge that I have today of who Jesus is, his hand has always been on my life. So I can't do anything but give back to him. So that was middle school. So I got y'all through elementary school. We went through middle school. Getting into high school, after the fire, we moved into what they used to call the Silver Bullet. And it was a silver camper that was parked behind my grandma's house. And we stayed there for about 2 years. And I think it was towards the middle of my 10th grade year when we finally, my mama did her big one. And she found a place, and we had to do a lot of the work in the inside. So my mom do carpentry a little bit. She loved it. She loved to watch the plan come together, if I may. But we had to do a lot of the work ourselves. But I think it made us appreciate the home a little bit more. Anyways, we got a place towards the middle of my 10th grade year. And yeah, that we had a new place to call a home, and we just kind of moved on from there. It was a fun experience, a humbling experience. I attribute a lot of that to who I am today, as far as like the humbleness, the minimalistic lifestyle. I attribute a lot of that to that time in my life. It just taught me that I don't really need a lot, and I don't think I ever will. Too much stuff in one place, like, oof, get it away. Like, it's unnecessary to me. If y'all like that, cool. But to me, too much stuff in one place, just, I don't like it. So, like I said, I was in 10th grade. So that was about right around the time that I started looking into different ways to make money. But I had to be stealth with it, right? I had to be strategic because I didn't have a car. in 10th grade. Well, of course, nobody has a car yet. Maybe somebody had. But me, I didn't have a car in 10th grade. And when I got home, I didn't really have a ride anywhere. So I couldn't really go like, oh, let me go work at McDonald's or work at the Subway or something like that. I couldn't do that. So I had to be strategic, and looking at the programs and everything in school, I came across work-based learning. And this is the point at which I tell y'all that I'm faculty and staff and student to my hometown. But I seen the programs at school, and one of them, you could only get into it if you were like upperclassmen, so 11th, 12th graders. And so one of them was work-based learning, and what that do is you can pretty much just work for the school for half of the school day, but you still get paid. You get paid on the same payment schedule that the teachers get paid on. So you get paid once a month, but I'm like, I'm in high school. That's enough for me. I think I was making like $500 a month. And really the reason behind me getting the job was only to pay for my graduation stuff. So I was pretty much saving up from the time I got the job, because once I put the paperwork in, they were like, yeah, you definitely in there. And so once I put the paperwork in, I was a shoo-in. So I was working at full circle moment, because guess which school I was working at, y'all? The elementary school. The same place I was walking from without a note. But I was working at the elementary school the latter half of my day. So I would leave school after lunch and go down there and work till about 3. It was fun. I met some amazing people as far as the students and the teachers, right? Because now I'm looking at you from a peer, although you're still my, elder. I'm looking at you from a peer perspective because we work together. I am an employed staff member. You know what I mean? So you can't just treat me like any old student. But yeah, so that's how I got into it. I did that for 2 years. Going into my 12th grade year, I had to figure out what I'm about to do. What I'm about to do when I get out of this school. And I didn't know what I wanted to be as far as like what I wanted to go to college for. I knew I wanted to go get some type of education, but I can't really say that I had a clear, direct path of what I wanted my plans to be. I remember at one point I had a dream of being it was so random too, but I just felt like if these dots would have connected, I would have been a millionaire really, really soon, early on in my career, right? But I was supposed to be a chiropractor, and I said I was going to move to California and have my practice out there. I just know I would have been rich already. And then what happened that kind of turned me away and deviated me from my plans is I went to California. And I got a question. Why are the roads so long? And it could be because I'm from a small town. It could just very well be that. But the roads, though? Why am I driving 8 hours in one state? I don't like it. So that changed my plans for that. But anyways, and it wasn't until later that I actually went to California and witnessed that. But still. Anyways, I got in 12th grade, didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't want to go to college and waste money because I didn't know what I wanted to go to school for. So I didn't want to just constantly pull loans, not really having a clear direction. So from there, I had to look around and take an inventory of everything that was going on. And me and all my high school friends was all out there doing things that we were not supposed to be doing. This is the BC me, y'all. Before Christ, I was lit. I'm still a little lit. I ain't gonna lie to you, because I'm gonna have a good time. It's just a little more tempered. Let's start there. It's a little more tempered. But BC me, we was out there. So I was taking an inventory and I was looking around. I was like, they doing what I'm doing. I'm doing what they doing. They popping up with babies. I got to get myself together. Like, I got to pull it together. Pull it together, Kobe. Pull it together. We got to figure out what we about to do with our life. So I made a decision. Mind you, I took 4 years of JROTC. All 4 years, everybody asked me, are you joining the military? I said no. All 4 years. But I needed a quick exit. So when the opportunity came, they were like, they're giving the ASVAB. I think it was like a week or two away. I'm like, oh, say less. I'm about to go take it. And I took it in preparation. I hadn't even fully committed to the idea of joining the military just yet. I just took the test in preparation because it was an option, right? Sometimes we have to prepare ourselves for future decisions, even if we aren't sure that we're going to take them. We just have to always be prepared to have that option. And I love options, by the way. But I took the ASVAB, I scored well, and then once I started, because I had that in the bag, once I started looking at everything, it was just like, some things need to change. I made a decision to join the military. I talked to my dad, who's 21 years plus retired, served that long in the military. So I talked to him. I was just like, he should at least have some information that can help guide me or direct me on this journey, or at least help me choose the best decisions going forward. Because I'm coming from this with no experience at all, no foreknowledge of this. So I have to go seek wise counsel. And so I reached out to my dad. I'm like, okay, I think I want to join the military. And he pretty much handled it from there. When I tell you things was moving rapidly, whew. So I just attribute that to maybe that was the plan all along, right? Because when God moved, he strike fast, and everything just lined up. I don't think there was anything that held me back. Every question the recruiter asked, every document that needed to be filled out was done quickly. Every question it was no holdups. He didn't have to do any waivers or anything. He was just like, oh yeah, you're locked in. And that was my beginning into the military. So while my dad was helping me talk to the recruiter, they were looking at my test scores, and my dad was like, oh yeah, oh great, that's great. And I'm just like, what's up? And he told me that I scored high enough to get into the cyber field, and that is where my journey into the tech fields began. I was an information technology specialist, i.e. 25 Bravo, in the military, and that was the beginning of my tech journey. And I've been on this path, on this road for 11-ish years, almost 12, I think. Well, no, I think it just was 11. So yeah, 11-ish years. That's where I got my start in tech. So as a techie, I learned this after I joined the military. So my first year in the military, got MOSQ'd out of Fort Gordon, Georgia. You know what I mean? Fort Eisenhower now. But I got MOSQ'd at the top of 2015. And I went to my first duty station 30 minutes from home. Yeah. I wanted to go to Korea first. God knew best. God knew best, because I experienced Korea later. But God knew best not to send me there first. And I had a blast in the military, man. I met some amazing people. And I would like to say that this is not join the military right away. You know what I mean? All I can tell you is what my experience was and how I don't want to say transfigured. How I changed over the course of my time in the military and what the military has done for me. The military really changed the trajectory of my life, right? Because it gave me that experience. It put me in places that I might not have ever been. And that helped with my perspective on life. And I've always had the ability to look at things from a non-biased perspective. But when I went out of the country, when I was in Latvia, like in the Baltics area, the simplicity of a lifestyle, it's jarring compared to the way that we live here. But it's so interesting, right? Because we're so used to this high tech, high pace, high environment. And for them, it's just like, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to pause and just enjoy the creations that God has made. And I was just in awe. I love Europe. Um, it's a beautiful place. If you ever get the opportunity to go, please go. If you ever get the opportunity to go out of the country anywhere, as long as it's safe, and you're not going against your will, please go. It's such an amazing experience. You're going to learn a lot, and your perspective is definitely going to change. I highly encourage any and everybody to go. But like I said, we got a little off topic, but we coming back. Y'all keep pulling me back, because I do it every now and again. Just Kobe, get back. Come on now, pull me back. But like I said, that's where I got started in tech. And once I got situated in my first duty station, 30 minutes away from home, I learned about our annual training. When I say annual, it is like 10 trainings that you have to take annually. Most of them are ridiculously long. One of them is titled Cyber Awareness. If you're in the tech field, if you have access to a computer, every year, in order to maintain that access, you have to take cyber awareness training. And cyber awareness they try to make it fun, so they put little games and stuff in there, but it's still like an hour of watch the video, click through this, answer this question, watch the video, click through this, answer these questions. And then at the end, you have another exam waiting for you. And you must pass. I think it's like a 75 or 80 that you must have to pass. So a particular portion of this, well, let me go back. Cyber awareness, I was introduced to it when I first got into the military. So now fast forward to 2024. Last year, I'm taking the cyber awareness. By this time, that old habit has set in, because most techies know if you're taking your annual training, you just kind of click through it. Because it doesn't really change. And you know the questions. And you've taken the same exam over and over and over again, you kind of remember the questions. So you really just got to get through the video footage. And that's the part that kind of holds you up. But there is a point in cyber awareness where they allow you to take a knowledge-based portion first. So instead of going through the videos, they'll allow you to pretty much test out of the different portions of cyber awareness. So that's the one that I normally do. So like I said, fast forward to 2024. That was 2025. Fast forward to 2024. I was taking the cyber awareness because it was my time to renew. And I took the knowledge-based portion. And one of the sections in cyber awareness was insider threat. And I missed that section. I think I missed like 4 sections that time. But one of those sections were insider threat. And so I had to actually go back through and go through the elongated portion of the training. And with that, I don't know what kind of prompted me to be like, I'm gonna read through this. I'm going to take the time. It has been 5-6 years since I am going to take the time and sit still and read this. And even now, looking back, I just feel like that was God tapping me on the shoulder saying, I need you to kind of pay attention to something right there. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Pay attention to something. So I would like to read the definition of insider threat to you, because it was in that training when I actually saw it and decided to read through it that I pretty much had like a revelation. God dropped it in my spirit so heavily. And I think the next week I had a week-long training. When I tell you, it was like a light had went off. And I was a little confused at the beginning, because I was like, how could I have never seen this? But I would like to read the definition of insider threat, because this is the beginning of the podcast and how the title came about. So the definition of it's so good. Y'all remember I said if I geek out a little bit, just mind your business. Okay. Let's start. By technical definition, an insider threat is a security risk that originates from within the targeted organization, typically involving current or former employees, contractors, or business partners who have authorized access. Ooh, so good. To the organization's systems, data, or facilities, and who intentionally or unintentionally misuses that access in a way that negatively affects the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of organizational resources. Y'all, did y'all hear that? A few key words that I want to take from this is they already have access. They operate from within. This can be done intentionally or unintentionally. And it's done in a way that can negatively affect the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of organizational resources. Woo. So when I actually read through that, like I said, the revelation was just so strong, and I immediately applied it to everyday life. And I've always been a fan of self-reflection and just always taking inventory and looking around and looking at it from the perspective of what can I do better? How can I be better to do this? But I also have encountered individuals which that was not always the case. And I can say that I probably had some situations like that in the past, but because I've always been a fan and so excited about self-reflection, I would always draw it back to, okay, how can I be better? How can I do this differently so that I can kind of make sure that this never happens again? I don't want to be in this situation. I don't like how it feels or whatever. I'm about to change something. So when I read that and was going through the training, it was the part where it already has access. So it just highlighted and it jumped off the screen that the threat is not external. It's internal. Nothing anybody does on the outside of me, it can't do anything for me. It won't put me in hell or heaven. What they do won't put me in hell or heaven. It's what I do. It's internal. It's me that I need to focus on. It's me that I need to check. It's me that I got to get right. You get what I mean? If I'm navigating this world and I encounter somebody that maybe they're just having a bad day, right? And they're going off yada, 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 100 miles a minute. And they invoke something in me that makes me mad. Now I want to get rowdy. I want to do this, da, 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 da. I need to address me because it wasn't what they did. It's my actions that I got to account for, right? It's what I did. Because if you're talking and I'm walking away, you arguing by yourself. Who that's hurting? You look foolish out there in the middle of the street. Who is that hurting? But it's those moments where I feel like I need to respond. Oh, who is this? Who you talking to? Who da 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 da? It's crazy, right? Because you have those individuals like, oh, I know you ain't talking to me, but then in the same voice, in the same breath, you say, if it ain't directed, it ain't respected, and that's for sure. Because even when it's directed, now I know what I need to address. So please direct me. Please direct me. It's a way for me to get better. It's a way for me to improve. I am not ashamed of asking for someone's forgiveness or giving my forgiveness. That's the beauty of it. So when I had read that, I was so stoked because I think I was on the phone with my sister. I'm like, this has to be talked about. And I remember telling her, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to just start a podcast. And so she was like, what is it going to be called? I said, Insider Threat. I'm gonna just start a podcast. So excited. You know when you have that first idea and you're literally so excited, you just go on Google. What do I need? Da, 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 da. I'm looking for the most affordable stuff because I'm about to get it all at once because I'm that excited. Somebody should have slowed me down. I don't know. I don't know. So this was last year, y'all. I got the name, the idea, and everything like that. I would say I got the name last year, and I got all the equipment last year. And so I went out. I brought everything, just to get started. I was like, we're just getting started. We'll build from here. Brought some lights, brought some cameras, all the plugs, everything that I needed for that. And just kept going, you know what I mean? Well, I wouldn't say I kept going because shortly after that, I kind of didn't know where to go with it because I wanted it to be very strategic and creative, right? So I didn't really have those ideas just yet. So fast forward to 2025, we're here this year. Hi, y'all. Fast forward to 2025. I was sitting down, I think I was laying down in bed and I was watching TV and I was on YouTube and I think I had stumbled across a podcast and I think it was Kips. I think it was Keep It Positive Sweetie with Chris Renee. I had stumbled across a podcast and I was watching it. I was like, oh yeah. God just dropped it in my spirit. I was like, oh yeah, I did want to start a podcast. And right after I said that, I got a notepad and I just wrote the name of it. God gave me the rest. I was over there glitching trying to write so fast because I prefer like longhand, although my hand cramps when I do it, but I prefer longhand. I will write and write and write and write notes, everything. Like I will write and write and write and write and write. My hand will shake if I hold it like this. I cannot be a surgeon. I don't know why. But I was over there literally, okay, hold on. I'm trying to write it down. Wait. And everything else came. I had to think about this. I got the equipment and the name last year. This year, everything else came. He gave me the titles of each episode. He gave me the titles of each episode in volume 2. Yeah, we're fully prepared to record those. Just saying. I'm just saying. So we're gonna get on the ball because volume 2, the tech. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about volume 1. Volume 1 pretty much shows the heart of the podcast, right? And the heart of the podcast is, we like to call this a God help podcast because we like to keep God at the center of everything we do. I can't do anything without him. So I can't solely depend on myself. Yes, I can say self-help, but I'm leaning on somebody else. So I just want to keep it real, keep it transparent with y'all. That is where my health comes from. That is where my help comes from. That is the source of all my creativity and energy is God. So that's what we like to call it. It's a God help podcast. And I like to say it's where work meets passion because I work in tech. So it has all of the creativity of technology and the technical jargon and different ways things are put together are kind of techie, especially the segments and the titles of the segments. But essentially it's a God help podcast, and it's to pretty much help others do what I love to do, and that's self-reflect. And I can't ask you guys to go on a journey that I'm afraid to take. And because I'm so passionate about helping people, because that's the passion aspect, I really and truly want to see people free and just living their full lives, free from bondage, free from shame, free from guilt, because that's not yours to carry. Put it down. Take that monkey off your shoulder, shake it off, a little shimmy 1, 2, and be fine. Like, that's not your cup. Put it down. And I'm passionate about that because oftentimes a lot of people kind of suffer in silence, and that's where the enemy wants you. He wants you thinking you're not good enough. He wants you thinking this is it. you can't go past beyond this point. He wants you complacent because he wants to waste your time. But you have things to do and you can do them. I don't care what your background looks like. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care about any of that. You have a purpose. There's a reason God placed you in this earth. And I just want to see people flourish, and I want them to see them fulfill that purpose. So a lot of episodes are just going to be talking about topics that a lot of people ignore. And these are important conversations that need to be had. And I can't stand when people say there's no space for this or no space for that. But if you never create the space, then the space will never be created. So you will just always have something to complain about. And that's another threat, right? Because it's a threat to your inner being. Because if you think about it, you like to complain about the problem, but you never present the solution. Although you know the solution most of the time. Most of the people know the solution. They just want to stay where they are. It's a victim mindset. So let me go into telling you what this podcast is not. Now, I will start this with a disclaimer. I love you guys. I love y'all. I do. But like I do my friends and my family, I will not uphold anybody in wrong. Anybody. I won't do it. So what I'm going to tell you that this podcast is not. This podcast is not a place for victimization. This is if you feel like you struggle with the victim mindset. Now, if you're ready to give it up, then it's no longer the victimization. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, you get what I'm saying. So, but if you're ready to give it up, you're an insider. But if you're stuck on that and you're still bent on, you just don't understand what they did to me, or why is everybody after me? This is that and the third. This is no place for that. This is no place for self-doubt. This is no place for self-hate. This is no place for complacency, inconsistency. We want to support one another and encourage growth in our journey. And sometimes it's a little bit harsh. Sometimes the truth hurts. So yeah, I want to get into what the podcast is. This is a place for truth, honesty, realness, accountability, self-reflection, growth above all growth, and just sharing experiences, sharing our stories, releasing shame and guilt. We don't like that. Those don't go here. But it's just, it's going to be a good time too. This is a place for a good time. We love a good laugh. We love a good line dance. Y'all going to see me. We love a good laugh, a good line dance, a good song. Yeah. Okay. We're not really, this is no place for religion. We have liberty in Jesus Christ. And that's what we want to encourage. That's what we want everybody, the point that we want everybody to get to. That's where we want everybody to get to. Just that liberation and that freedom to express yourself within the confines, of course, of God. You know, out of respect for him, we can still have a good time. We can still be the people that he called us to be and have fun. We ain't no robots, like, come on. But that's pretty much the idea of the podcast and how it came about in a nutshell. And to go into how each episode will be broken down or how each episode is segmented out, there are 6 segments. Really, there's 6 segments, but essentially there's 7. And you'll understand a little bit more once I get towards the end. And to get started, we have Say Ah, which is our icebreaker. And in the icebreaker, we pretty much just introduce the episode. We introduce the guest star when there is a guest star. The focus of the episode, we'll read that. And we will also get into the icebreaker, which is actually titled Say Ah. It's the icebreaker. And in that icebreaker, it's the guest star or me, if it's a solo show, gets to choose between a joke, a quote, or their biggest fear. And the guests will make a decision, and they will provide the answer. So with a joke, it's pretty much like keeping it light, not going too deep just yet. With a quote, it kind of gives you an idea of how they think, how they live their life, pretty much the words that shape who they are. That's with the quote, because everybody got that one quote that it works. It does something for them. It works. And then the biggest fear, pretty much you go deep real quick, and those are the options. So after Say Ah is done, we roll right over into the internet. And the internet, I'm going to read y'all the technical definitions of these terms because it's so good. So the internet is a global system of interconnected computer networks that use the Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol, TCP/IP, to communicate. It enables devices worldwide to access and exchange data, services, and resources through a standardized, decentralized framework. Now, as it relates to the podcast or the purpose that it plays in each episode, it said that the internet is a system of interconnected computer networks that uses TCP/IP. The main thing you need to focus on is it's a set of interconnected computer networks. So it's what we're connected to, right? Take it a little bit further. It's connected to everything. Like, it's a daisy chain effect when it comes to the internet and how things are connected. There's a certain phrase in the tech world called IoT, Internet of Things, and it literally just shows you how everything is connected. So as it relates to the podcast, in each episode, it pretty much represents that external network, because the internet is an external network. And it represents everything that we're connecting to on a daily, everything we've connected through in our past, whether it's through our lineage, through our bloodline, through experiences. It's everything that we've been connected to, right? And so we want to see how the different topics applies in that aspect. And we're going to have some very, very good conversation. Now, this portion that I'm talking about now, that's the meat and potatoes. We eating up in those sections. So after that, we go right on in to. I look like I was glitching. Am I shaking? I can't see it. I need to go faster. Anyways, we go into the buffering segment. The buffering segment is, by technical definition, I told y'all I was going to give y'all that. Buffering, it's good too. They all good for real. Buffering is the process of preloading and temporarily storing data in memory, a buffer, to ensure smooth playback or data processing, particularly from streaming audio and video over networks where transmission speeds may vary. Y'all, it goes further, but let's break that down first, right? When I read that, it said, particularly from streaming audio and video over networks where transmission speeds may vary. Y'all, if I tell y'all I have this audio that I want you to hear, what you gonna use? If I tell you I need something for you to see, what you gonna use? So as it relates to the podcast, the buffering is that those things that we've connected with via video or audio through the gates, y'all. Through the gates. It's those things that we've connected through in the internet phase that we're taking a little moment to process transmission speeds may vary. It might take you a little bit longer to process than others, or it might take you a little bit longer to process different things that you experience. Oh, so good. To go further, blow your mind even more. It says that the purpose of the purpose of buffering is to avoid interruptions due to long or bandwidth fluctuations. No, due to lag or bandwidth fluctuations. You ever get that feeling where you just be like, something just happened randomly, like in blink of an eye, and you literally are stuck. You're buffering. And then we have to go into where? The next segment, tap intranet. The intranet is a private restricted access network that uses internet-based protocols to securely share information and resources within a specific organization or enterprise. It says the access for this network is generally only authorized users. Now we got to go internal. Who's the main user of your internal network? It's you. So after we have interfaced with this outside world via social media, via our bloodline, via our TV, we buffered a little bit. We took a pause to kind of try to process this information. Now this information has settled and it has finally penetrated our internal network. And now it's a part of our normal processes. Now we have to address, how did that affect our processes? How did that change us? Did it invoke good things, good habits in us? Did it invoke bad habits in us? How did that affect us? We got to talk about that. Like I told you, meat and the potatoes. Y'all just got to make sure y'all know how to chew the meat, spit the bones out. So what doesn't apply to you, overlook it. We don't need to address that because that doesn't apply to you. It's not for you. What you eat, don't make somebody else poop. That's a little nasty. But still, you get the point. You get what I mean? So just because you don't agree with something or you can't relate to something doesn't mean that you have to negate it, because it's simple to say, okay, that wasn't for me. Don't get so stuck on one single part that you miss the rest of the message. You know what I mean? So I want everybody to be present during these episodes. Embrace change. If you feel aggravated or completely just like that stepped on your toes, it's probably something you need to address. Because like I said, nothing anybody else do is supposed to get you so angry, so riled up, so beside yourself that you give caution to self-control. It might frustrate you, but to completely give up caution to self-control, this is something that needs to be addressed. And we, as your accountability partner, me specifically, I want you to be free of that, because I want you to practice self-control, and I want you to be the very best version of yourself. I don't want one situation where you couldn't grab hold of yourself to define the rest of your life and you as a person and your character. It's not right. But what they said, you can do good all your life. All people gonna remember is that one time you done them wrong. And this is, like I said, this is not about anybody else, because we're focusing on I'm starting with the man in the mirror. Oh yeah. Come on now. We're starting there. You get what I mean? So guess what? When everybody start trying to come up to you, be like, oh, What you got going on? I'm trying to improve myself. Oh, you can't do that. Worry about you. Worry about yourself. Tell them that. Please, tell them that. It's not for them to worry about what you can and can't do. And it's not for them to inject their fears into your plans. It's not for them. Mind your business. You came over here and asked me what I'm doing. And all I was doing was responding to the question. And ain't nobody asked you anything after that. Stop talking to me. Just say that. Tell them to stop talking to you. But anyways, what segment was on? Oh, that was Tap Intranet. Going out of Tap Intranet, we go right into Take Control, my favorite part. Y'all, when God gave me this part, I was like, sick. That's disgusting. Oh my gosh, I love it. And so Take Control is a play on the shortcuts on the keyboard. And so there's 3 questions that either me or the guest that's on each episode will answer. And the first one is Control A. And for the techies out there, I'm sure you're familiar, but for the non-tech individuals, Control A on a keyboard allows you to pretty much highlight everything on the screen. So if you're in a file folder, if you're on a Word document and you have words everywhere, like you just wrote a report and you need to copy that and paste it in somewhere else, you would hit Control A and it'll literally highlight all the words on the screen. Going into the next one, well, as Control A relates to the episode, the question that we would pose is, what highlights are you taking away from today's conversation? Right? So going into the next one, Control C on a keyboard allows you to copy whatever you've highlighted. And like I said, that could be files, words, whatever. It can be, it'll allow you to copy it. When you copy it, it saves it to this thing called a clipboard, and that's a whole different avenue. But going into the last question, well, as Control C relates to the podcast, we will pose the question of, what quotes or insights will you be taking with you from today's conversation? You know how people be like, oh, I'm going to steal that. What quotes or insight will you be taking with you from today's conversation? Jumping into the last shortcut, it's Control V. And Control V allows you to paste whatever you've copied on to paper, not paper, but like a Word document, or paste it somewhere else. And the question that we pose on the podcast is, what will you apply to your life moving forward? Right? And these are some really, really good questions, because it really acts as a recap of the episode. And then we'll go into the next segment, which pretty much re-summarizes the podcast in a couple of sentences. And then after the recap, we'll do a couple of reflective questions, and then we will go into the social plugs. So that's where you'll get all the information that you need about the guest stars, because by that time you guys already know where to find me. But we will also, after that, we will also mention the podcast socials, my personal socials, and of course we'll close with our closing statement. Now, this is why I say that the podcast pretty much has 6 segments, and that is from Say Ah, the intro, to logging off for now. It's Say Ah, the internet, buffering, Tap Intranet, Take Control. That's the play on the shortcuts, and then logging off for now, which is actually the closing. So those are all the talking portions, the talking segments of the podcast, where we will actually be speaking. Now, the final, I like to call this the post-outro closing. The final thing in the podcast is known as the web tip of the day. And what the web tip of the day does is, because most civilians or people that's not in the tech world or are not in a field where they have to maintain a certain understanding of tech, we get a lot more training on certain things that you guys might not have. So what the web tip of the day does is pretty much just give you short, actionable steps that you can take today. You can implement them today to help protect you and your loved ones, especially the elderly and the kids online. And like I said, it's just small, actionable steps that they can take today to just be a little bit more safe in this ever-growing digital age. So that pretty much wraps it up for today. I won't hold it too long, but that pretty much summarizes the episode, the background, give you guys a little bit of background about myself. And yeah, so I want to close with, I look forward to learning a little bit more about every one of you guys. I look forward to you all learning a little bit more about me. And I look forward to watching the breakthroughs that I hope and pray comes from this podcast. Just accepting the hard work and actually accepting the actions behind it also. So on that note, I would like to say thank you for tuning in again. And I would like to introduce you to our closing statement. And I would like for you guys to learn it because I want you guys to repeat it. And I pray that it encourages you guys to stay hopeful and stay peaceful and stay committed to changing and growth. So the closing argument is protect your peace, audit your code, and as always, logging off for now.